Hello and welcome to another episode of Christian Ricky. I am your host, Manaka Ramukuvhati, and today's episode is episode 17. Yeah, and it's not going to be the normal, usual one. It's just me today. So I just was listening back to all the episodes I did, right? And I realized that I actually never, not even once, said who I was on the show. I swear to you guys, it was not on purpose. I was not trying to go incognito or anything. It just so happened that you guys now know me as Christian Ricky. But Christian Ricky is Manaka, a girl from Johannesburg, South Africa, grew up in the streets of Soweto. I love music. Music is literally the one thing that fuels me. I cannot go a day without music. If I'm not thinking of anything, trust me, there is a song playing in my mind. But yeah, so I just wanted to come through and so this episode is different, right? It's not like all the other ones. I'm calling it Behind the Mic. And I'm just going to tell you guys about me, the reason behind why I decided to do the podcast and why this specific podcast and why now. Why now in my life did I decide to do a podcast, and why did I call it Christian Ricky? Of all things that I could call it, I called it Christian Ricky. So that's what's coming up on today's episode. Yeah, so the name is Manaka Ramukuvhati. I grew up in Soweto, which is in Johannesburg, South Africa. And in my life, all I ever wanted to do was to sing. And I was honestly and totally convinced that that's my purpose and that's the reason why God has placed me in this world. That's always been the reason, right? And I have made many attempts. Many attempts to make the dream a reality. I've tried literally anything you can think of, and I've always hit some great obstacles along the way, until I gave it to God. Until I gave it to God, that's when I got to really know what my purpose is. And as time went on, God would reveal to me, and he kept just revealing to me that your voice is your instrument. Your voice is your instrument. And I was just like, yes, of course, my voice to sing. That's my instrument, God. And, at some point I even stopped asking. I was like, God, I stay asking you what I'm supposed to do. What's my purpose? And all you ever say is your voice is your instrument. And I'm trying out the singing thing so hard, but I am not getting anywhere. Until I asked the right question, and I asked, what would you have me do, Lord? What would you have me do? And that was me recognizing and realizing that God gives us bits and pieces of what we are with regards to our purpose. He doesn't really give us the full picture, but he gives us glimpses. And him saying my voice is my instrument was him saying to me that I should refine and work on that craft. And I did, without even knowing. Oh God, without even knowing the reason why I was refining the voice and working on that, right? I continued to go for vocal lessons. I continued to sing and work on my breathing for my singing. And still, that was not working until I was like, okay, maybe it isn't singing, which, yes, of course, I'm good at, but it really wasn't what God would have me do. And what God would have me do was to speak and to ask questions. And I then ventured into voiceovers because I was like, okay, my voice is my instrument. So, okay, let me speak for a living. Let me do voiceovers, and I did that. And then that's when I had an encounter with Christ. During that time of voiceovers, I had an encounter with Christ and I got baptized. It was the most amazing day of my life. And I honestly really can't explain exactly how it happened, but I know in my heart that I felt a conviction. I felt convicted, and God spoke to me in a way that I can't really express in words, but I knew that it was Him, and I gave my life over to Him. And the questions and the uncertainty and everything that I've been searching for started to make sense. Started to make sense to me, and what God was speaking to me started to make sense. And it was like I had blinders on, and the blinders came off, and things started making sense, and I started seeing things clearly. And God said to me, "You are to do a podcast." And I'm like, "Do a what?" He's like, "You are to do a podcast." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, bye." I stopped asking, and I went to go do the task that has been given to me to do a podcast. And I tried that, but I tried it my own way, if that makes sense. I did it my own way. I did not consult with God anymore. And mind you, I'd consulted with Him as to what would He have me do, and He gave me an answer. But I then decided to do it on my own, and I stopped asking, but I just did. And that failed so much. And I got the biggest lesson of my life in that. God was saying to me that, "Come to me. I'm the one who said you should do this. Why are you doing it on your own?" So I started a podcast, and that failed because I was doing it in my own strength. I did not pray about things. I did not do anything to do what God has asked me to do. I just did what I thought is what God wanted me to do, and that failed. And that was biggest lesson, number one, that I learned from my journey with Christ. Yeah, and then I had to reevaluate, rethink, repray, reconsult with God. I had to do all of that because I had tried. It was literally like the prodigal son who took everything from his dad and was like, "I got this, Daddy, I can do it on my own," only to come back and be like, "Daddy, I tried things my way, they did not work. What would you have me do, and how would you have me do it?" And then that's when, literally, guys, I tell you, every single aspect, every single part, every single idea, everything that I want to do, that I think of, or that I've done for the podcast, it has included God in it. Because every time before I start something, I pray to God and ask Him to come through, invite Him to be present in what I'm doing. And it's been a success. I don't want to brag, but literally the podcast has been going on for 3 months, I'd say. End of September 2020 was when the podcast began, and in 3 months the podcast has been listened to in over 20 countries. That's only God. That can only be God. And I really give all the credit to Him, because I asked Him, and in everything that I did with regards to that, I still made sure to involve Him. I did not take it up as my own thing and do as I please, but I made sure that I do what God wanted me to do. And yeah, so the whole aim of the podcast, Christian Rookie, it's just to have conversations with like-minded people, mostly with people that have been through the walk with Christ for a much longer time than I have, just to ask some questions, because I realized and learned that as soon as I got baptized, I didn't really know much about Christianity as much as I thought I did. And as much as I did call myself a Christian for all of my life, I didn't know what it was about. So this is a platform where I get to ask people questions about the things that we're not sure of as Christians, because I am a rookie in this Christian game. So that's why it's called Christian Rookie. And I just, the whole aim and purpose of this show is that people get educated and that we make it more light and fun for those that might not be enticed by church or the Bible as the gateway to getting them to enjoy going to church, to enjoy reading God's word. And one thing that I always mention in my podcast is community. And my community in this journey has really had a great impact. And I know I say this all the time, but community has been such an important aspect, important part of what it is that I'm doing in my walk with Christ. And I would really just encourage everyone to have a community that speaks into your life, a community that walks with you, a community that consults God on your behalf, that prays with you, and a community that wants the best for you. So guys, I would really community did wonders for me. And the Bible does say that the company you keep is very important, and bad company corrupts good character. And I know that firsthand because I've chilled around some really bad people. Let me not say bad people, some bad influence. And that has really taken my life to a direction that I did not want it to go. But I'm so happy where I am now. I'm so glad to be living for Christ, doing what He wants me to do, having conversations with people that want what Christ wants for them. It's just been so beautiful and so amazing. So guys, I would just like to encourage you to text me, send me an email, send me a DM, send me a Facebook inbox. Do check out the Facebook page, Christian Rookie. Also check out Instagram at christian.rookie, where there's all the updates about the podcast. And you can also just comment, send a DM asking questions. If you have someone that you'd like me to have a conversation with, a topic that you'd like us to discuss, I'm your girl. And I am here to have all the hard questions, all the hard conversations, that you might not really be able to ask your pastor or whatever. I have people that are willing to have the hard conversation. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have an awesome day. I love you guys. Bye.